Hi everybody, it's the CCJT amateur where production values go to die, obviously. Okay,
Especially
over
now.
there CC.
And over there's JT,
And we welcome you to Sunday, January 25th, 2026. Oh my gosh.
the last Sunday of the month.
Already. It
Yep.
seems like we just started this thing. We don't get political in this place because we want this to be a safe place because we like to help writers write, but we send our love and our appreciation to everybody in our country who's being affected by current events. I can't think of. I'm just saying it that way.
Right. We want everyone to know that we are just as frustrated as everyone else, and we'll leave it at that.
I'll just leave it at that. But we've got lots of things to talk about today. Lots of things to talk about. And again, this is a podcast to help writers write. So we're going to be talking about some writers that we interviewed with that in mind, with our mission statement in mind. What we're also going to talk about is what's happening here in the worldwide headquarters of the Amateur Hour, and just some reminders. We put it out there on social media, but we're just going to put it out there again. CC is doing YouTubes and
daily.
TikToks daily.
Yes.
And I'm doing TikToks daily, the 15-second kind. Because really, that's all I can last. Okay, there, so we got the social media thing going on. So check out YouTubes and TikToks. Our books are free. Some of our books are free through the Libby app and Overdrive. Especially if you're in Carson City, many of our books, are available
through the Carson City Library.
Through the Carson City Library,
Yep.
Thank you. But if you are in a library that is connected to the Nevada Cooperative, then our books are free there. Yes.
Yep.
And that's so cool. And if you want to subscribe to this newsletter, here's some incentive for you. Finding Salvation Part 1 will be free in your hands if you are a subscriber. So that's cool. It has a regular retail value of 99 cents over on Amazon, but seriously, it's free. So grab it while you can.
And also, as another little bit of incentive, JT is working on compiling the Finding Salvation novella trilogy into a single book. So the part 1 will remain available as a kind of a tease. So if you want to check that out before the entire compilation comes out in March, I believe, then it's a good way to kind of wet your feet, and then you wouldn't have to wait very long to be able to complete, that reading process.
Yes. I mean, it's like right there. It's free.
Yeah.
And part 1 is a novella, less than 40,000 words. It really won't take very much time, and hopefully, CC said it'll give you a taste of things to come.
And it is, we don't spam anybody for signing up for our newsletter. We do a monthly newsletter, and then I think people are notified when our podcasts go up.
Yep.
That's about it. We don't do advertising spam or anything. So, because I know we all get way too much of that.
What the email also does is it reminds you of upcoming events, and so I've got it up here just to give you a clue. As CC said, Finding Salvation, the book, is a compilation of the 3 novellas for the Finding Salvation universe. This is the prequel to the Serving Salvation. What happened on Earth when the Salvation was launched. So that's coming out in March. In April, coming out is
Restless Spirits Book 2. Which is currently with betas. Thank you to JT and Jackie, who very kindly volunteered. And hope you're having a good time, Jackie. I'm actually hoping Jackie has a good time on the trip. But thank you for working on that while you're traveling. I appreciate it. But so we're looking at April for that.
And then I'm sorry.
But also in April, we just signed up to do something else.
All right, we're going to be doing a book thing. We're going to be doing a book sale, book signing at the Nevada State Museum. That'll be our 3rd time there. And we've had mixed results, but it's always kind of fun.
I love going to the museum.
People are very brave at the museum, and they come up and talk to us all the time. So we'll be, in April, we'll be there. And we'll give you the dates and the details as we get closer.
even if it's just to ask us where the bathrooms are or the coin press.
Yeah, we that's what we did last time. Was no, it wasn't the bathroom.
It was the coin press.
It was the coin press in the mine.
Yeah.
No, people asked us where the bathroom was at Reno Public Market.
It's okay, come chat with us. We don't care. We'll give you directions.
We're easy. Okay, so that was April. So in June
would be Restless Spirits Book 3.
Right.
And then in July
is the next. July is what?
Is that the
the next Finding Salvation book? There's another book. So I talked about Finding Salvation. What happens when the salvation is launched? But what happened to the people who were left behind? And that's the next. That's the book that's going to be out in July. Which
you've finished the first draft of that, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I apologize again to the betas. I had a complete brain fart on that.
It happens. There's been a lot going on. JT's getting people scheduled for the podcast and everything. So and this time of year we have to update all of our financial paperwork, and there is a lot going on for a two-person shop here.
There's just a lot. And then on October, we're going to be releasing 2 books in October at the same time.
Yep.
And we'll talk about all of that as we get closer.
We will keep mentioning it.
Yeah, we'll keep mentioning it. So that's the book schedule.
Right.
And right now, the only book signing that we are, absolutely, well, we're not absolutely confirmed on, but we're probably confirmed on is the museum. So if you are in the Reno, Sparks, Carson City area and you know book signing things, let us know, because we'd love to come down, depending on the cost.
Also, another one that we will probably be doing is the Sierra Arts Foundation. They will be doing their second book fest, but they're doing it in June of this year.
Yep.
We are not confirmed on that one yet either, so stay tuned if you're interested. That one will probably be in Sparks at Victorian Square, outside the Depot Gallery, if we do it the same way we did last fall. But that's something fun to look forward to. We had a great time. It wasn't a great weather weekend.
Today, obviously, also just on the sports side, of course, is the 2 championships games, and so Kappa and I are engaged a friendly wager. That's going to cost one. I'm not going to say what cost one of us money, because that kind of betting may or may not be illegal. I have no idea anymore. But I took Seattle, and she took the other 3 teams as to win the Super Bowl. So today we'll see who goes to the Super Bowl. We'll see if.
If Seattle doesn't make it, then you're already done.
And I'm done, one and done. So that's the championship games, and then of course we are looking forward to spring training and baseball.
Also Valentine's Day.
Oh yes, Valentine's Day.
We're coming up on Valentine's Day, and if you follow my social media, you will see that I turned our bedroom Christmas tree into a Valentine tree. So I still have the main Christmas tree up, which is coming down very soon.
Yeah.
It will be down by the end of January, but it's it's that time of year where we're switching over to all things love. Love.
Love, 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 love. And we should also say that CC has re-entered us into the Women in Podcasting.
So the voting period for that will be in April. So we are also up for, I believe, the Books and Authors category again in the Women in Podcasting Awards. We did not nominate ourselves last year. We won the year before that. But this year, I felt that since we have expanded our podcast and we're now interviewing authors, we're doing things a little bit differently than we did. It would be good to kind of increase our visibility again.
Yeah, so it's always, once you get an award, you can advertise it forever, which we have done. Boy, have we done.
And you, speaking of awards, last year you entered a couple of your books into the Independent Author Network Awards.
Yeah, and they placed. They didn't get
finalists.
First, second, or third place, but they placed. So, which is always cool, which is very nice. Some books, get into those things and they don't get any recognition. So the fact that both of those books placed, it was Zoe and Finding Salvation Part 1. It was entered as a novella. So can't argue with that.
So another, if you want to try out Finding Salvation Part 1 for free, go ahead and sign up for a newsletter.
Yep. Okay, so I think we caught up on everything, so we can dive into the meat of this thing. It is going to be an interesting meeting too. So we love interviewing writers. We do it through our podcast, the Amateur Hour, and we also do it through the Nevada Author Network. And we're having it, by the way, somebody's coming back to the Nevada Author Network. So we'll be posting that not this week, but the following week. So that's always fun. My brain just blanked on her name.
Suzanne Morgan Williams.
Thank you, Suzanne Morgan
and we
Williams.
will also be promoting the fact that she is doing a series of workshops for authors in the Carson City area at the Carson Senior Center, I believe.
Yes.
It is how to, I guess, use your senses to help you write memoir.
And so that's
so if you're in the local area, please check her out. We will have information probably, I'm guessing, in the blog post.
Yeah, we'll have all sorts of information, but she is going to be teaching at the Carson City Senior Center. I got her email here in early March. She's going to be also doing a free class at the Carson City Senior Center again to talk about accessing memories to inspire storytelling and writing. And you know, Suzanne is just a wonderful personality, so effervescent. And you know, her writing has been recognized around the world. Her books have been translated into other languages. So to have a local writer, to have that kind of presence and that kind of exposure, and to have her on our little old podcast, which has tens of viewers, is just wonderful.
We also like to meet our fellow local authors in person, and we're coming up on another meeting of the Sierra Arts Literary Community. So if you are in Northern Nevada and you're interested in writing, definitely check out Suzanne's classes, but also check out Sierra Arts Literary Community, because I think partnering with the Sierra Arts Foundation has really helped us. And I hope that we are helping our fellow authors by promoting them through the Nevada Author Network. But it's really good to make these connections. So we highly recommend that if you are not in our area, you look to your local community to see what's available and what other authors might be around you.
Okay, so we're going to dive into the meat of the program, and thank you for being patient while we do these updates. As you can see, we've got a lot of things going on. We're going to talk about, if you saw the blog and you saw the blurb, we're going to be talking about technology. And there's so much technology now in the writing business. But recently we had the honor and pleasure of interviewing Arnie Bernstein from out of Chicago, who, you know, just wow, what a personality, just so much fun.
He was so much fun. He'll probably be coming back at some point.
I hope so. But he wrote among his books that are, again, he's another well-recognized. I mean, he has even a Wikipedia entry, for God's sakes. I mean, that's big time. But he wrote a very heartfelt story, or a heartfelt factual book called The Bath Massacre, America's First School Bombing. And the Swastika Nation, the impact of the rise and the fall of the German-American Bund in the United States during the 1930s. So these are pretty heavy books that he wrote, extremely heavy books. And of course, he's got this wonderful resume. So again, Arnie has an excellent website, and he's on Wikipedia. So I advise folks, especially want to write in the nonfiction genre, you know, to check him out. And we also had back Kendall Brown. Now, Kendall, of course, it's always funny because we first started inviting writers. We wanted writers from around the world. And we've succeeded. We have we've interviewed folks who are not only located outside the United States. We've interviewed literary artists who live in America from other parts of the world. So we've gotten some really interesting and fun perspectives. But one of our very first writers that we interviewed from all around the world lives about half a mile from us as the crow flies. She just dropped on us, and it's like, you're right over there? Like, so Kendall Brown.
Yes, and we will have to say that we've met Kendall in person since then, and she's great. She's awesome. She is a dog trainer, and she has an amazing personality, so
it's fun.
Definitely check her out too. She writes about dogs and how basically humans need to be trained to handle. You know?
Her book, 10 Secrets of a Lazy Dog Trainer, I want to make sure I say this right, 10 Secrets of a Lazy Dog Trainer, and Let's Get a Dog. I think it's the first that's gotten the most recognition as a definitive guide to training humans on how dogs, because I can tell you for a fact, man, I've been knocked over by dogs, literally, and I'm not a small guy, but I've been knocked over, and I didn't blame a dog for a second. It's the humans. But we bring Kendall. It was an interesting timing of having the two of them back to back, because they both talked significantly about technology and how they use it to be creative.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to, Cece is going to go ahead and describe Arnie's approach. I'm going to describe Kendall's approach, and we're going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of it. And I'm going to be right up front that Kendall's approach, I already received pushback on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to hold off my thoughts on that till we get there. So let's talk a little bit about Arnie, which is very, very fun.
Arnie is amazing. If you go to Arnie's website, you scroll down to the bottom of the page, and Arnie has a series of photographs of typewriters. Arnie, we bonded over the fact that we took typing classes in school. I mean, I think all three of us took typing classes. Arnie is so old school that he uses manual typewriters, which I have never been able to figure out because I don't have the finger strength for it. I think you have used
I learned to type on an old Underwood in middle school. That just
really hard.
As I said in the podcast, you had to really put your back into it. And like the keyboards I have today are suffering for that.
So, and to this day, JT is very hard typist.
Energetic.
He's gotten what is supposed to be a silent keyboard. It's, you don't really hear the click of the keys so much, but I can hear the pressure. But in my case, we bonded over the fact that we had taken these typing classes in high school. And coincidentally, at about the same time, I had noticed that I had my old typewriter from the 1980s, an electric typewriter, Smith Corona DeVille 2, actually tucked away in a closet upstairs. So we purchased, they still make cartridges for it, ribbon cartridges. So most typewriters, if you're not familiar with them, they do have a ribbon that runs through it. Usually in some of the older ones, they'll have two spools, and the ribbon will run from one spool through to the other spool, and then it, as you're typing, it moves so that the ink stays fresh. With the typewriter that I have, you actually have a cartridge that goes in. It still spools around, but it comes through, and there's a little piece that goes into, I'm not sure of the terminology, but there's like a plate that the keys will hit so that you get a nice clean font on your page. So the idea of sitting down and using a typewriter, which Arnie does, it sounds like what he does is he will type his first draft on a good old-fashioned manual typewriter, which, again, I'm in awe of anyone who can, and he mentioned that he is also a touch typist. So when we are trained, I know the way I was trained in high school was we could not look at our hands, and there are two keys on the typewriter that will have a raised point on them so that you know where to rest your fingers if you're not looking, and then you know which keys are basically on your left hand and your right hand, similar to learning a piano or something. And so when you're typing, you don't have to look down to see what you're typing. So touch typing on an old school manual typewriter is very impressive.
Okay, but let's talk about the creative process.
Yes, that's what I was getting to.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm giving the background. Chill out. So he's typing his first drafts onto the old school typewriter when you would then get the piece of paper out and very old school. And then he transfers that into, I believe he said he scans it.
He scans them, yeah.
He scans. Now, see, this is the part where I would actually retype it into my computer because I would consider that part of the editing process. I thought it was fascinating that he actually scanned his documents in and then he changed them to an editable document. I believe was he using Adobe?
I don't know. But,
so he actually marries the modern with the traditional old school typewriter.
And do you remember why he goes through all this?
He likes the feeling of, I think it helps his creative process to actually use the typewriter first because that's the way he learned.
Right.
And then I think part of the reason that he does the scanning versus retyping is that he's already been through the process of creation and he just wants to go and clean it up.
Right.
Where, like in my case, if I were going to retype it, it's almost like starting the process over again. So I found it fascinating that he actually used, it was two different types of technology, the more traditional old school typewriter versus the modern computer, and doing it in such a way that I hadn't considered, because it can be challenging once you scan a document in to get it to be editable, because sometimes when you transfer the scanned document, the formatting gets screwed up, and you might not get the right characters. It will sometimes not recognize the typed word.
And I do remember him saying that if he didn't know the word or he didn't know the concept that he wanted to do, he would put some sort of...
He'd just put a placeholder in there, and I think a lot of writers do that.
Yeah.
If you're writing along and you can't figure out, like you forget a specific term, or you haven't figured out a character's name or something, you will just type a placeholder in there, and then as you're editing, theoretically you go back and fix it.
Yeah.
So it's a very, a very organic process, I think. I think the idea of his contact with the typewriter, I think that really helps his writing flow. And as someone of our generation, who grew up prior to having computer keyboards and things like that, I think we can both really resonate with that feeling of typing something, because when I first started writing in the 1980s on my Smith Corona, I really loved the feeling. I loved the sound of turning on the typewriter and the sound of the keys, and you don't quite get that with the computer. So I think that can be a vital part of the creative process for some writers, and I think that's Arnie's situation.
And it's easy to get dived into the material when you're doing that, because you have to be very intense. Of course, you can always backspace and everything and fix it after the scanning, but the process is very, I don't want to say labor intensive, because that kind of has a negative connotation, but it is creative intensive, that's for sure.
Well, he also pointed out that he doesn't get as easily distracted because a typewriter is not connected to the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
If we're typing around on a computer, like instead of putting in the placeholder, we decide to go do the research at that moment, you go down a rabbit hole and you lose your flow. So I think it helps his flow to not be distracted by other things.
And it's just, you
it's
feel
intense.
more like... It's intense.
Yeah.
I wonder if you feel more like a writer for those that are used to that process.
I do.
I can see the advantages and disadvantages. Obviously, with manual typewriter, you don't need electricity. You just need a good ribbon, which was always the trouble with me, because you reminded me with the the ribbon with the two reels. I was always going through ribbons when I was using my old Corona, not my Corona,
Didn't you had the Underwood, right?
Yeah, the Underwoods.
Yeah.
So, and it's those ribbons, obviously, just it was easy to...
Well, the other thing with a typewriter, especially an old manual typewriter, is that you cannot correct what you're typing unless you pull it out and you start from scratch. You can type X's over what you did. If you really wanted to get into it, you can use something like whiteout, or they had these pencil erasers where you would erase it and then it had the little brush to get the goop out of there. So you couldn't really edit as well on the fly. So that again helps your flow, I think.
So much respect for old school writers back when I was growing up. James Clavell, who's famous for writing books like this, that writing doorstops, all on a typewriter, and it's like, phew. And
there was a TV writer, Stephen J. Cannell.
Yeah.
And actually on his TV shows, they would do, when it was Cannell Productions, his kind of logo, I guess, would be him typing at a typewriter and then pulling the page out. It would like go into the logo. Yeah. So it was like, there were old school writers who were very proud of using their typewriters.
As I should. It's a skill. It's a skill. And you have to put thought into every word prior before you put them down. Whereas me with a pantser, it's like, oh, never mind. Delete.
The other thing is that if you are not a typist, there are still people who go really old school and do pencil and paper or pen and paper. And there is another creative flow to that, where you actually have the hand, it's like the words are flowing out of your hand, where the typewriter, there's still a little bit of a disconnect. But so the old school typewriter handwriting type of situation is still used by, I think, quite a lot of people.
Yeah. And so we've talked about the strengths and weaknesses of doing, the typewriter. We keep calling it old school, but it's still very current school for a lot of folks.
It's coming back.
Folks that, around the world that do not have, easy access to the internet, but still feel that creative itch to get words on paper. And boy, do we we feel for you people.
Well, that just brought up the fact that, like you said, with the manual typewriters, you don't need electricity or anything. So if you want to go hide out in the cabin in the woods where you don't have any electricity or internet access, you can easily just disconnect and write.
Yeah, and there's a lot of advantages to that, but the one disadvantage I can think of is for research and things like that, having that instant news to research. Okay, so we're going to go to the other end of the scale, and we're going to go to the evolving technology that is writing. And I don't want to say that using typewriters are pretty much set. You know, the technology is pretty much set. Typewriters, you know, they can improve, but the question is there's, well, not the question, but the clear fact is not as much research, not as much money is being spent on typewriters as there are other writing tools that are present. And Kendall Brown represented what I call the future. You know, and I said this in the podcast where, like it or not, Cece and I kind of represent the past in a way. That's just the reality because of our age set. We have creative decades ahead of us, but not as many as there were. That's just, that's just reality.
Right.
Whereas Kendall Brown and her age group, they have decades ahead, and the technology that they use today may not be the technology they use 20 years from now. And this is just reality. And like it or not, artificial intelligence has become such a part of that folks of that age is becoming integrated into their daily lives. And whether we like it or not, I think artificial intelligence is integrated into our lives more than we want to know.
Yes.
More than we want to know. We can't get away from it. It's a growing presence in our lives. And I get that folks are pushing back, but I'm going to just say, after being 40 years in the IT business, you're holding back the ocean with your hands. It's coming. We
should say, though, that we agree that AI should not be used to just create books.
And I'm getting there, and that's where I was headed.
That's just, I think we both agree that that's just a hard and fast rule for most creatives, is that just don't do that. Yeah,
writers have a really, some writers, many writers probably might be better. Many writers have a very intense hate of AI because for one of the most obvious reasons that companies have been for many years scraping their novels, both fiction and nonfiction, to train and also to take in those novels without granting either any acknowledgement or royalties to the creators, which, by the way, is just illegal and immoral.
We should also point out, this is not just writers, it's also other creative artists, graphic designers, visual artists like painters. So we're talking about writers specifically for the podcast, but we recognize that it's not just happening to writers.
Right. So there's a lot of antipathy. I don't know if I pronounced that right.
That's right.
Okay, cool. There's just a lot of hate for AI in the writing community. And in fact, there's a very famous case going forward right now where one AI company is having to pay back millions for scraping. And so it's like writers, many writers are just, right from the get-go, they put on brakes and say, we're not going to use AI. And that's not wrong. That's not wrong because it's all relative, but it's still part of the technology toolkit that writers have available. And Kendall is an advocate up to a point. And if you are a writer and you're listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, and you are automatically, and we're not no blame here, but you're automatically doing the fingernails down the chalkboard kind of thing. You're screeching to yourself that you're not liking what you're listening to or hearing. We encourage you to listen to Kendall's point of view before passing judgment, because she makes it clear that she uses AI as a companion to her writing. She does not use it as part of the creative process to create the book. But what Kendall does is she uses it as to bounce ideas off of it, and she uses it as part of her research.
Right.
And it's just another tool. But it is, she clearly mentioned ChatGPT as part of the process. And I'm not going to approve or disapprove because really, we don't know where we're going to be 10 years from now anyway on this subject.
Right. And we are at the point where we personally don't use it, but that doesn't mean,
that's actually...
Well, I mean, what when I say we don't use it is we have not gone into ChatGPT and asked it to do something for us.
Right.
So up to that point where it's actually overt that we're going to out to do something on AI, we try to avoid that. But that doesn't mean that, other people may find that a very useful tool.
The other part of Kendall's technological tool chest is Oculus, which is basically
Virtual reality.
Virtual reality. And what she uses it is to immerse herself in the writing experiences. She has the goggle. If you want to do a Google search on it, it used to be called Oculus, but now it's called Meta Quest because it's part of the Meta universe, Facebook and things like that. But what it is she wears the goggles, and she has a keyboard, and she has everything spread out in front of her in a virtual reality. And I got to tell you, folks, this is the future. This is the acceptable future. I get it that folks in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and so on don't approve.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? We're going to be replaced by folks who are in their teens, 20s, and 30s who do use this technology. And I don't, replace is just not a fun word, but again, this is the future. Will I get myself an Oculus or a Meta Quest or whatever it's called now? I'm not going to do that because that's just not my comfort zone. I cannot imagine, working and having, the humongous picture of the virtual paper in front of me typing. I'm good with what I have now, which is,
Mm-hmm.
just plugging in Spotify and, turning on the music and, working on the manuscript that way.
I will say though, talking about technology and what we will or won't use. So for a long time, people, especially people that I worked with who were maybe even a little bit younger than I was, were pushing back against using 2 monitors for their computer. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is the evolution. You have your one little computer station with your one little computer monitor. Now, we both have dual monitors, and they are very useful. And even though he's pushing back on the idea of having the big display, he gets the big curved monitors that are meant for gamers for his computer to write with. So there is definitely a transitional period, I think, where we are, like you said, pushing back against it maybe, but then over time it kind of becomes more comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's not to say it's good or bad, because sometimes it turns out to be good, sometimes bad. We know there are a lot of downsides to AI, especially on the environmental front and things like that. So whether or not it continues to go along the way it has, it is becoming more a part of daily life, whether we're aware of it or not.
Yeah, and I think it's been around a little bit longer than people are aware of. And
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not advocating for it because I'm not going to use it. I'm just saying that you can't open your mind behind a closed door. And people have gotten behind this closed door and just slammed it shut. And it's I don't know if this is good for personal growth or professional growth, because whether or not you like it, Arnie hasn't learned to adapt to modern technology. Mm-hmm. He still creates using a manual typewriter or
right.
electric typewriter, but in order to be a viable writer, he's had to adapt, and he's had to buy the computer, and he's had to buy the scanner. He needs the internet connection. He needs all of that
right.
in order to be a profitable writer.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to ask, and I keep bringing up this 10-year thing, I have to ask myself, how far will we have to go down this rabbit hole 10 years from now to be equally viable? Will we need to be, for example, and I'm just throwing this out there, registered to a company's AI application in order to submit our writing, submit our books for publication? Recently, whether we like it or not, Amazon for their Kindle application turned on a feature where readers can ask questions about the books that we've written, about the characters. That's all AI. And so the Amazon Kindle application provides feedback on characters and events inside the book to the reader upon request. We had no call on this.
No, and they don't let you disable it.
They don't let you disable it. So what is Amazon going to make us writers do 5-10 years from now, and then and then it's not just Amazon, but Barnes and Noble, Google, Google, those other platforms that have begun to invest in artificial intelligence. The future is coming. The future is coming, whether we like it or not. And I can tell you, a lot of us don't. But hey, what are we going to have to adapt to in order to remain viable writers in the future?
And that is kind of the point, I think, of what we're discussing today, because unless you are published by one of the big 5 or whatever it is now, publishing houses, in order to self-publish your work, you need these platforms like Amazon. Like it or not, Amazon is where a lot of people buy their books because it is the least expensive option.
And it's also the elephant in the room, and it's also the industry standard.
But then there are authors who have published their own books who are taking them down off of Amazon for the AI scraping reason. Now, I can understand that and I respect it. However, not everybody has that ability. Maybe not everybody has uploaded their books to other platforms. If they take it down, that's their only source of income. And as you said, are the other platforms going to start doing the same thing? It's only a matter of time. If everybody's doing it on Amazon, everybody's going to start doing it everywhere else. So we're not saying, if you want to publish a book, basically, in some ways you are probably going to have to deal with this unless you go through a traditional publishing house. And we don't know what traditional publishers are using these days when they're going through your book. Are they using AI editing services or something? That may not be a way to get around the use of AI. So there's so much we don't know. We don't know how integrated it is into our current technology. We know every time our phone updates, something else comes up, people go in and disable it, you get the next update. So just to say that if you are considering self-publishing, if you have not already, and you don't want to use AI, probably you would use a typewriter, type it out yourself. You would have to typeset it, you would have to bind the book, and that is not a sustainable way to self-publish.
So through this, we caution people who've slammed that door shut on AI, because once you do that, you run the risk of being left behind. And it's good, and you may feel good about taking this stand, but there are people in line behind you that have grown up with this and that are just going to accept it as a part of daily life. And we don't mean to lecture or anything like that.
No.
But these are just realities. These are just realities, and we've talked about this at length amongst ourselves, obviously, and we're gritting our teeth ourselves. We're not saying that we're wholehearted advocates. We're gritting our teeth, but we can see how AI is sneaking into our daily lives, our daily professional lives. We didn't even mention, for example, that both that Google and Amazon, if you want your audiobooks and you can't afford somebody to read it for you, they will offer a free service where AI will read your book as part of the audio process. It's not great, but it's going to get better, and it's going to get to the point where you will not be able to tell the difference between a real person reading your book and AI reading your book. And even now, when you go out and look at videos and TikToks and things like that on the internet, it's getting to the point where it's nearly impossible to tell the difference between real people and AI. So this is scary stuff. It's understandably scary stuff, but but here it is. We're either at the we close the door phase, or we're at the adapt, improvise. What is it?
Overcome.
Adapt, improvise, and overcome phase. So that's those. I don't want to say those are binary choices. But I kind of think it is, especially for writers, especially those that have been, almost punished or, almost affected by the, AI who's scraped their books. There's no single right answer for this very complex subject. And I know that there are going to be people that are going to be watching this podcast that are just going to be pushing back almost on every other single word. And we respect that. We understand that. But,
We are not advocating for the use of AI.
mhm.
That's just flat out. What we're saying is that even those of us who are not advocating for it, we don't know how much it's already crept into what we're doing. And it is, for example, Microsoft Word. If you type a manuscript in Microsoft Word, there are ways that it will do predictive text and things like that. How much of that is AI driven?
Yeah.
You know, how long has it been doing that? So we do not think that AI should be scraping the work of other people
Absolutely
to
not.
train. We are really not, but it's already been doing it for many years, and once the door is open, you can't close it. So what we're saying is not that we're advocating for AI, we're saying that if you think you have never used AI, you may be wrong.
Yeah.
And just, take a step back and say, okay, I'm not going to go after every author if I find out that, oh my gosh, they used Word, predictive text slipped in there somewhere, something like that, because the author was probably trying their best to create their own original work. But somebody who sits down and just cranks out an AI novel with an AI cover, no, because you're stealing somebody else's work, basically.
Oh, and by the way, M dashes, I will use those. People were saying that the use of the M dash was an indicator of AI text.
Yeah.
Yo, mama, I've been using M dashes forever. I will give up my M dashes when you pry them from my cold, dead fingers.
And Oxford commas, baby.
Oxford commas and M dashes, baby. Okay, I think
we're just trying to play devil's advocate here because it's out there. Unless you use no technology whatsoever, but then once you put your book out into the world, you can't avoid other people maybe scanning that book and doing things with it. So I don't think there's any way to avoid having something happen with AI and your work if you put it out into the world.
It's just the way it is, and you think it's a challenge now. Like I keep saying, wait for X number of years. It's writers wanting to post things to Amazon. I'm sure, for example, I just had this thought. I bet Amazon is when writers are posting things to their self-published books. I wonder if Amazon's already scanning them with AI to see if the book is already up there under another name.
Well, honestly, if they're trying to prevent plagiarism, because there has been a lot of that where somebody will take a book, and that's one of the reasons that you have to be careful about copyright and things like that. But it's, we've mentioned that I had problems with a cover having been designed with AI, and 99 Designs came back and said that someone had used AI to create my cover. How did they determine that? Did they use AI to tell it was AI?
Scanner? Yeah.
I mean, it's...
So
where's the line?
I think we're good.
Right. I think we're talking in circles now.
Yeah, I think we're good. So if you want to push back, please feel free. But remember, just with a caveat that we are not saying that we are agents for AI. We're agents for typewriters because we love typewriters. Yep. We love typewriters, but we're not agents for AI.
Right.
We're just saying we're taking a pragmatic / realistic, which I think is the same. I think those are synonyms. But we're taking a pragmatic view of things. Again, going back to the fact that I've got 40 years of professional IT experience, and I've seen a lot. And I can tell you that every wave of new technology has always had their share of haters. And then a few years goes by, and it's just part of the day-to-day experience.
Going back to the 2 monitors, I had a coworker who had 2 monitors on her desk, never turned one of them on.
Yeah.
She constantly uses 2 monitors now because she realizes how helpful it is. So we do, but again, that's not to say we're saying that in the future we're going to enjoy AI, especially with the environmental impacts that are involved and the use of other people's intellectual property. We do not agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, so what are your thoughts? Hit us with your thoughts. We respect that. We understand that. We do not advocate the use of AI as a tool to do illegal activities, but we recognize that there is a place in the world to support writers, to support their creative endeavors without actually being creative. We recognize that there is a place for that, and that place is going to grow. It's going to expand. Okay.
I will say, though, just from a research standpoint as a writer, be sure to do your due diligence if you are using AI to research something, and check your facts to verify if they are correct. It's like going way back to when Wikipedia first started. And I would not say that Wikipedia is always a great way to do research. It may be a good starting point. Then you go down and look for the citations. Always double check your sources. So you cannot trust anything AI, I don't think.
What they told us in college is always true. Using one source is plagiarism. Using two sources is research. Always do research with at least two sources, if not more.
Right.
Okay. All right. I think we're all talked out on this one. Blah, 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 blah. Can you think of anything else?
No, I think this is going to be a continuing discussion for a lot of people. And if we do get pushback, I don't know if maybe we'll do a future episode talking about some of that pushback and maybe things that we've realized from it, because we are not experts in any sense of the imagination. So as JT said, please feel free to leave your comments, because we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Again, we're trying to take a pragmatic thing here, non-emotional view of the future, but it's a challenging. A lot of people have been burned in our profession by AI, so we understand that the emotions are really out there on this, as so understandable. Okay.
Also, if you're a typewriter aficionado and you have a typewriter, if you want to share a photo in the comments, that'd be cool. Yeah. We love looking at typewriters.
Yeah, we're typewriter aficionados, that's for sure. Okay, so thank you for joining our little podcast, and you can check us out on our website. We actually have two podcasts going on. We have the CC and JT Amateur Hour, which is probably close to 300 different episodes, maybe more. I stopped keeping track. There's so many episodes now, where we feature not only ourselves talking about issues like this to help writers write, but we feature other writers. And we are booked out to June on scheduled writers. So every other Sunday, we're going to have a different writer on here to talk about their works and their writer's process, again, to help writers write. We also are partners with the Sierra Arts Foundation out of Reno, Nevada, and with the Sierra Arts Literary Community. And what we do over there is, the Nevada Author Network, where we interview local writers in the Reno, Sparks, Carson City, that general area there, to talk about their literary work. And we encourage those folks that are members of the Sierra Arts Foundation to come on board and talk about their stuff. Mm-hmm. We've got Suzanne, and we're going to have Ken back. We're going to have just all sorts of folks. And if you've already appeared on the podcast and you want to come back, please do so. We would absolutely love that. So we're having lots of fun here. Anything else?
I will say that people who have been on the podcast feel that we have made them comfortable. So if you have not yet done a podcast and you are a local author, don't let us intimidate you, because we like to just chat. Yeah. We have our coffee and we chat. So it's a fun time.
Yeah, it's a fun time. So for now, over there is CC.
And over there is JT.
So we thank you for joining us. Y'all take care and see you in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.